Evan's shuttle hummed quietly as it floated toward the damaged Illyrian research vessel. The ship was enormous, shaped like a crystalline bird frozen mid-flight with fractured wings glinting under the distant starlight. For months, humans had only communicated with the Illyrians from afar, carefully observing their movements, cautious of their brilliance and power. Few humans had ever boarded an Illyrian ship, and even fewer had lived to tell the tale. Yet here he was, a human engineer assigned to repair what no human had touched before. His hands trembled slightly as he adjusted his toolkit, a mixture of excitement and fear coursing through him. He had heard rumors about the Illyrians, beings of crystal-like skin, minds so sharp that humans felt foolish simply breathing around them, and hearts that, according to legend, did not beat with emotion as humans knew it. Evan had always thought that was part of their charm. When the airlock opened, a beam of soft silver light spilled into the shuttle. Evan's eyes adjusted and he saw her, Lyra. She stood at the center of the docking chamber, her crystalline form reflecting the light in fractured rainbows. Her hair, if it could be called that, shimmered like liquid silver. Her eyes were deep pools of liquid crystal, unblinking and unreadable. At first, she didn't speak. She just watched him, tilting her head slightly as though studying the curve of his mouth or the way he breathed. Evan swallowed and stepped forward. "I'm Evan. I'm here to help with the repairs." Her voice was soft but precise, each word crystal clear and deliberate. "I am Lyra," she said. "Your methods are human. They are inefficient, yet I observe them with interest." He blinked. "I'll take that as a compliment." For days they worked in silence, repairing the fractured wings of the vessel. Evan marveled at the Illyrian technology. Panels that responded to thought, energy conduits that shifted light instead of electricity, machines that seemed alive. Lyra moved around them gracefully, her fingers brushing against conduits and panels, her crystalline form leaving faint traces of shimmering light wherever she touched. He tried to talk to her. "So, do you ever get tired of this? Constant repairs, missions, calculations?" She paused, her head tilting. "Fatigue is irrelevant. Efficiency is paramount," he laughed softly. "Humans don't work that way." "Sometimes. We work for fun or for feeling good." Her gaze lingered on him a moment longer than before. "Feeling good?" she repeated, almost as if tasting the words. That night, Evan stayed in the ship's observation deck, watching distant galaxies spin in silent rhythm. Lyra appeared beside him without warning, her light softly illuminating the room. "You are awake late," she said. "Do humans not sleep?" "I do," he said. "But I can't sleep when there's work to do or when there's something interesting to watch." He gestured at the stars. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" She stepped closer, tilting her head. "It is visually appealing. But why do you watch it with longing?" He smiled. "Because it makes me feel something, joy, wonder, hope, things you don't feel." Her eyes flickered, the crystal light inside them dancing like sunlight on water. I do not understand." Over the next few days, Lyra began to change subtly. She started imitating small human gestures, smiling faintly when he joked, occasionally asking questions about his life on Earth. At first it was awkward, mechanical even. But gradually her movements became smoother, more natural. She laughed once, a soft musical sound that made Evan's chest tighten. He had never thought an Illyrian could laugh. One evening as they worked on a delicate power conduit, she froze, her hand hovering above the panel. "Evan," she said softly, "why does your pulse quicken when you speak to me?" He looked at her, surprised. "My pulse? You can see that?" "Yes," she said, her crystalline eyes wide. "It fluctuates. Your emotional state is irregular. I do not comprehend why it occurs, but it intrigues me." He laughed softly. "It's called excitement. Humans feel many things that make the body react in strange ways. One of them is love." Lyra froze. "Love?" she repeated. Her voice was barely audible, like a fragile whisper of glass. "Explain." Evan took a deep breath. He had explained many things to aliens before, but nothing like this. "Love is when you care about someone so much that their happiness becomes important to you, sometimes more than your own. It makes you feel joy and fear and hope all at once. It's complicated, but it's what makes life worth living." She listened silently, tilting her head as if turning his words over like a gemstone. Her eyes, normally so steady, flickered with light. Confusion, fascination, maybe something closer to curiosity. Days passed. The repairs continued, but now there was a different energy between them. Evan noticed the way she lingered near him, how her hands brushed his more often than necessary, how she seemed to watch his expressions with careful attention. One afternoon he asked her, "Lyra, do you feel something when you're near me?" She hesitated, the silence stretching long enough for him to doubt himself. Then she whispered, almost trembling, "I do not know, but my pulse, it changes, and when you are near, it is brighter." Her words struck him like a shock of electricity. "That's incredible," he said softly. "That's exactly what it's supposed to feel like." They were interrupted by a sudden alert. The Illyrian Council had detected the repairs and sent a recall order for Lyra. She was to return immediately for reconditioning, her emotional responses deemed dangerous and irregular. Evan's heart sank. "Lyra, you can't just leave. They'll erase whatever this is." She turned to him, her eyes glinting with fear and defiance. I do not wish to be erased." Her voice cracked, the first real sign of human-like vulnerability. "Do it again, human. Make me feel that warmth once more." Evan reached for her hand. The touch was electric. Her skin, crystalline and cold to the touch, hummed faintly against his warmth. "I will," he whispered. "I'll show you again what it means to feel alive." They spent the last night together on the observation deck, sharing stories of human and Illyrian worlds. He told her about sunsets, oceans, laughter, and family. She told him about distant stars, her people's history, and their precise ways of life. Slowly, the bond grew stronger, a delicate thread connecting two beings from worlds apart. As dawn approached, the alarms of the ship blared. Lyra had to leave. She looked at him, her luminous eyes filled with both fear and wonder. "I thought we'll try to remember," she said softly. "Do it again, human. When I return." Evan stood at the airlock watching her disappear into the Council's transport. He didn't know if he would see her again, but he felt something stronger than hope. He felt a promise, unspoken but undeniable, that their connection was only beginning. And in the quiet of the observation deck, Evan whispered to himself, "I'll love you again, Lyra, no matter what." The stars outside continued to spin, indifferent and eternal, but within the fractured wings of the Illyrian vessel, a small light of human warmth had begun to shine. The Council's ship loomed like a silver predator as it approached the outpost. Lyra's heart, something she had only just begun to understand, pounded inside her crystalline chest. The recall order had been clear. She was to return immediately and undergo reconditioning, which meant the erasure of any emotional irregularities. She had felt warmth for the first time, and now the very essence of it was under threat. Fear and determination collided inside her. Evan had promised her they would see each other again, but now she was being dragged back to a world that did not allow what she felt. She tried to focus on the calculations in front of her, but her thoughts kept drifting to him. His laugh, the gentle way he explained human emotions, the warmth of his hand against hers. It was more than memory. It was longing, a strange ache she didn't know how to name. As the Council's transport docked, Illyrian guards entered, moving with precise efficiency. "Lyra," one said, voice emotionless, "you are to accompany us. Resistance is unnecessary." Lyra stood tall, though her pulse raced faster than any Illyrian engineer should allow. "I will comply. If the human remains unharmed," she said. The guards paused. Humans were not typically afforded negotiation privileges, but her tone carried authority that made them hesitate. Evan had anticipated this moment. He had been tracking her location from his shuttle, and knew the Council would not allow her to leave without supervision. He maneuvered his ship into position, preparing a plan. He was a human, limited by flesh and instinct, but he had something the Illyrians often underestimated: courage driven by emotion. When Lyra was led onto the Council's ship, Evan followed at a careful distance, hiding in shadows, observing every movement. He saw the suppression devices attached to her crystalline frame, designed to neutralize the emotional responses she had developed. Her light dimmed, a soft echo of the brilliance she had shown on his observation deck. "Do not resist," the lead officer warned. "Emotion is illogical. It must be purged." Lyra's voice shook slightly, the first sign of vulnerability. "I do not wish to lose this," she whispered, referring to the warmth she felt for Evan, though she did not yet have the words to describe it fully. Evan knew he had to act quickly. He activated the ship's magnetic grappling hook and latched onto the hull. pulling himself silently into an air vent that would lead him directly to her location. Every second counted. He navigated the narrow corridors, the hum of Illyrian technology surrounding him, his mind calculating, his heart steady but racing with anticipation. When he reached the chamber where Lyra was restrained, he froze for a moment, taking in the sight. She stood in the center, crystalline chains suppressing her light, her form slightly dimmed. Even in this weakened state, she looked breathtaking. A being of pure energy and intellect now made vulnerable by her own burgeoning emotion. "Lyra," he whispered. Her eyes flickered as recognition surged within her. The faint glow returned, a beacon in the otherwise sterile chamber. "Evan, you came," she murmured, voice trembling with both hope and fear. "I promised I would," he said, "and I always keep my promises." He moved closer, carefully touching the chains. To his surprise, Lyra's pulse responded, shimmering with warmth. It was weak, but it was there. She was resisting the suppression through sheer willpower, and he knew he had to act fast. He hacked into the Illyrian restraint system using a portable interface. Sparks flew, panels flashed, and with a final beep, the chains dissolved into fragments of crystal, falling harmlessly to the floor. Lyra flexed her fingers, her light brightening with each movement. "They will come for you," she said, still wary. "I know," Evan replied, "but we don't have time to wait. We have to leave, now." Together they raced through the corridors, dodging Illyrian guards who were quick to respond. Lyra's crystalline body moved with astonishing speed and agility, but it was Evan's cunning and human unpredictability that kept them one step ahead. They reached the ship's hangar, where a small craft was waiting. Lyra's eyes widened. "How did you—" she began. "Don't ask," he said with a grin, pulling her inside. "Just trust me." As the craft launched, alarms blared throughout the Council's ship. Illyrian soldiers scrambled, but the two humans, or human and alien, were already weaving through the vacuum of space. Lyra clung to the controls, her pulses syncing with Evan's steady guidance. She had never flown a human shuttle before, yet she trusted him completely, the bond between them growing stronger with each passing moment. Once they were safely away, Lyra exhaled, a soft musical sound that made Evan's chest ache with relief. I can feel again," she said, her light fully returning. "Even under their suppression, I remembered warmth." "You've always had it," Evan said softly. "You just needed to trust yourself." For hours they drifted in silence, gazing at the stars, letting the quiet between them speak. Lyra's crystalline form reflected the distant galaxies, her pulse gradually syncing with Evan's. She felt a strange, overwhelming mix of clarity and confusion. This was new, uncharted territory, yet it felt right. The Council did not relent. They sent ships to intercept them, their energy weapons cutting brilliant lines across the void. But Evan was not a soldier. He was a human driven by heart and ingenuity. Using calculated maneuvers, evasive loops, and quick thinking, he guided the shuttle through asteroid fields and magnetic storms, keeping Lyra safe. In the calm after the storm, Lyra finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "Evan, why would you risk everything for me? I am alien. I am not supposed to feel, nor am I supposed to be loved." He looked at her, eyes steady. "Because you are loved, Lyra. Not because you are alien, but because you're you. And because some things are worth fighting for, even if the whole galaxy is against us." Tears, if one could call them that, given her crystalline form, flickered in her eyes. "Then let us not return," she said. "Let us find a place where no one can take this from us." Evan nodded. "A place of our own, somewhere we can exist, together." They set a course for an uncharted system, a hidden nebula far from the eyes of both humans and Illyrians. The shuttle slipped silently through the stars, carrying two hearts, one human, one alien, bound together by trust, courage, and the warmth of new emotion. During the journey, Lyra learned more about human customs, laughter, music, storytelling. Evan, in turn, marveled at her intelligence, her perception of the universe, and the way she felt things he had only ever dreamed of sharing. Slowly, the walls of fear and logic that Illyrians were known for began to crumble around her, replaced by curiosity, affection, and a fragile but growing love. One night, as they floated in the serene calm of the nebula, Lyra reached for Evan's hand. Her crystalline fingers were warm now, radiating light that pulsed in harmony with his heartbeat. "Do it again, human," she whispered, echoing the words that had first shattered her rigid understanding of life. Love me again, Evan smiled, squeezing her hand gently. Always, he said. And so, under the silent watch of distant stars, two beings from entirely different worlds began a journey that defied expectation. One was human, driven by heart and instinct. The other was Illyrian, a being of logic and brilliance, learning the strength and beauty of emotion. Together they found courage, warmth, and a new kind of life, a life in which love, once forbidden, became their greatest power. The nebula around them glowed softly, a natural cathedral of light and shadow, and in that quiet brilliance Lyra and Evan embraced the impossible. The galaxy, vast and endless, could not contain the force that had grown between them. No council, no law, no tradition could erase what they had found in each other. And as they drifted deeper into uncharted space, their hands intertwined, hearts aligned and pulses synchronized, the first true understanding of Illyrian and human unity blossomed. In a universe that prized logic, they had discovered the most profound strength of all, the courage to love against all odds. It was only the beginning.